Okay, so yesterday we found out some interesting news. UC Davis is now a member of the Mountain West. But wait, they're not playing football, they're going to play all the other sports. At first glance, I thought this was very unique, and I was very perplexed as to why UC Davis would join the Mountain West for other sports but not football, which they're currently really good at. UC Davis has been one of the best FCS teams this year, but it looks like behind the scenes, this is a sleeping giant team that has a plan to probably eventually try to take over the Mountain West Conference for football, and it's just going to slowly develop. The college sport realignment train keeps on rolling, and the Mountain West looks like it's the next target for some moves. A few months ago, there was some news that came in the form of Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Utah State announcing that they'd be leaving to help restart the Pac-12, and then it was followed up by news that Hawaii would be becoming a member in all sports. And then it was announced that UTEP would be joining and Grand Canyon would be joining the conference in all sports except for football, since they don't have a football team. Well, just a few days ago, the Mountain West announced another move, and that was that they were adding UC Davis to their conference in all sports except football, starting in the 2026 season. Okay, so you may be asking, why are you talking about a new program in the FBS when that isn't exactly happening? Yes, UC Davis will not be playing football, but it definitely opens up the door for them to quickly join up in the FBS here soon, and today we're just going to talk about the whole situation, what this could mean for the school and the conference, and my overall thoughts. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you can support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. UC Davis at the moment is a member of the Big West Conference for all sports except for their football program, which is a member of the Big Sky. They're big rivals with Crosstown University Sacramento State, who's been making a huge push to join the FBS in football, and Cal Poly, as well as Mountain West member Nevada. At the moment, their athletics department is in a better shape than it's ever been in a long time, and their football team is currently ranked 5th in the FCS, and they've already made it to the 3rd round of the FCS playoffs after beating Illinois State, and then they play South Dakota this upcoming weekend. Historically, UC Davis has not been much of a football school. Their first season was in 1915, and they only moved up to the FCS level from D2 in 2003. They are members of the Great West Conference from 2004 to 2011 before joining the Big Sky for football in 2012, joining teams like Montana, Montana State, and Idaho. During their time as a D2 school, they went 0-5 in bowl games, and they've only made the FCS football tournament 3 times, in 2018, 2021, and this year. Their current head coach is Tim Plow, who's in his first season at UC Davis after being the tight ends coach at Cal last year and the offensive coordinator at Boise State for a few seasons. He's a former UC Davis quarterback, and before him though, UC Davis was led by Dan Hawkins from 2017 to 2023, who was the head coach at Colorado from 2006 to 2010, and Boise State from 2001 to 2005. Coach Hawkins is a big reason as to why UC Davis has been slowly developing as a program, especially over the last few years. But their other sports have been doing well too. The main sport that will be joining the Mountain West for UC Davis at the moment is men's basketball. The Aggies went 20-3 in 2023 and barely lost to Long Beach State to miss their shot at the NCAA tournament. So far this year, they're 5-4, with their main losses to being Power 4 programs like Washington, Stanford, and Oregon State, but they've had some big wins against last year's tournament dark horse and future Mountain West rival Grand Canyon, and then UC Santa Barbara. They've also been pretty solid at baseball too. But the main reason why they're being added to the Mountain West is the main reason I want to talk about in this video. It's one of those schools like Coastal Carolina or Appalachian State that I think could make a lot of noise as soon as it eventually moves to the FBS level, and it won't just be in football that it does that. Mountain West Commissioner said, quote, "Adding UC Davis further strengthens the trajectory of the Mountain West as it continues to build its brand that has proven to elevate institutions and student athletes. I believe UC Davis brings a wealth of positives in continuing the growth of the Mountain West." There's a lot of reasons for them to believe this, but the main thing is this. As far as the FCS athletics programs go, UC Davis has a lot of money. According to USA Today, UC Davis had a higher athletics budget than Utah State, Charlotte, FAU, and San Jose State. They had the highest athletics budget out of any FCS school and would immediately be one of the biggest spenders in athletics in the entire Mountain West. Once UC Davis starts to care about college sports, which it definitely will once they join the Mountain West, I can see them shooting up the board in terms of competition, especially once their NIL starts to catch up. The Big West wasn't known to produce much in terms of great teams, but the Mountain West has been a great basketball conference for the last few years. They'll be joining a new look Mountain West that's definitely lost some of its luster in terms of some of their bigger programs leaving. Air Force, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, San Jose State, UNLV, UTEP, and Wyoming will be the all-sports members of the conference, while Grand Canyon doesn't have a football team. UC Davis won't be bringing their football team over just yet, and while nobody said that they will eventually, we can all predict that their football team will also join not too long after that. The main reason I say this is because the Mountain West is also looking to bring in more schools, especially schools like Northern Illinois and Toledo, to be football-only members, meaning that they're definitely looking into staying as one of the more relevant football conferences in the group of 6. Their AD said, quote, "Our intention is to continue to close that gap into the Big Sky and Missouri Valley Conference. Obviously, we were having a good year this year, but there's some infrastructure and other things that some of those teams have on us that we got to continue to get competitive. And if we do that, depending on what the future holds with FBS football, you never know what's possible." That to me sounds like they're going to take an extra few years to put the football program into a position where it can not only compete with Mountain West teams, but dominate them as the premier school in the state of California alongside San Jose State. UC Davis plays in a 20,000 capacity seat stadium right now, which would be right around some of the smaller ones in the conference. Hawaii's temporary stadium seats about 17,000, while their future one will seat more than 20,000. Nevada's stadium can seat up to 27,000, and San Jose State's can seat up to 18,000. UC Davis is right there in the middle of those teams, and they're also peaking at the right time, like I said earlier. The big thing here is that Sacramento State is losing steam in terms of moving up to the next level, with a lot of their money that they have getting tied up in joining the Pac-12, not the Mountain West. UC Davis doesn't care about that and just wants to move to the next level. They should also be able to commit a lot more money to helping improve their football facilities after just a few years in the Mountain West Conference. I personally believe that if they do move their football team over, they'd instantly be one of the most competitive teams in the conference once Boise State and San Diego State leave, right next to UNLV. That is, if the Rebels can find a coach like Barry Odom. Sacramento's in an area that doesn't really have a lot of FBS teams close to it at the moment, and San Jose State is 2 hours away, and Reno is on the other side of the Nevada border. But there really aren't any other schools in the Mountain West that can claim to be in Northern California. But the main reason this excites me is that them joining the Mountain West and potentially joining for football later down the line, it means a lot for other FCS programs right now, and even Grand Canyon. While Sacramento State is struggling to join the FBS, UC Davis making the move might spur them to take whatever spot is available, which honestly might be joining a few other FCS schools and making Conference USA stretch from coast to coast for a few reasons. That, or they could join their crosstown rivals in the Mountain West. The same could be said for a school like Montana, which would fit very well in the Mountain West if they decide to make a similar move, joining for all sports temporarily and then football later on. It also tells me that there's a good chance that some FCS football powerhouses might transition over to the FBS all at once, like what the WAC was going to try to do. Imagine North Dakota State and South Dakota State jumping up to the FBS with the rest of the Big Sky or Missouri Valley all at once. This type of move could have a huge butterfly effect, especially considering we don't see FCS teams from the West move up to the FBS level all that often. The last Western FCS team to move up to the FBS were a handful of Big West teams moving to the WAC in the early 2000s. We haven't seen a California team move up since then. But this also creates the possibility that Grand Canyon, which will be a member of the Mountain West for all their sports, might seriously consider starting up a football program. MWC Commissioner said, quote, "Grand Canyon has been on an upward trajectory both academically and athletically for the past decade, and its addition to the league will enhance the competition across the Mountain West as we strive to earn NCAA postseason bids and compete for national championships." This sounds very similar to what he said about UC Davis. According to the Arizona Republic, Grand Canyon doesn't have any plans to start a football program yet. Part of that is due to their unique standing as a for-profit university, when most universities are non-profit. This makes it more complicated and difficult to start a football team, especially at a higher level, like where Grand Canyon is. But if other members of the Mountain West Conference start to have success at football, and GCU feels like it's left behind, I think there's a strong chance they could eventually decide to do that, and that would be very cool. But UC Davis is immediately going to be one of the bigger movers in the FCS realignment sphere for the next few seasons. I'm not exactly sure what it means for the Mountain West overall, other than that they'll have another team competing in basketball for a few years, but I do believe that eventually we'll see them playing football for the Mountain West. Once that happens, I think their athletics budget will allow them to become one of the better programs in the conference, and after a few years, they might be joining a few other California schools in the Pac-12. They might have also just taken Sacramento State's spot, and if the Hornets aren't able to swallow their pride and join the Mountain West first, I think they are in big trouble. Either way, I think they're one of the FCS's sleeping giant programs, and I am very interested in seeing how it'll all work out for them. But what do you guys think? If you're a UC Davis fan, when do you think the football program will join? What's another FCS school that could eventually make the transition? And what are your thoughts? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.